best friends and next door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian.
And this is Maddie.
Oh, that went better.
Yay.
I think that was
All
the
right.
smoothest one.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. How was everybody's April Fools?
Mine had no foolishness. I don't allow that shit.
I did one single fool on myself. I
Did
don't
you
know
fool
if anybody
yourself?
out here. Yeah, I did fool myself actually. And it
Oh,
worked because, fun fact, I have absolutely no fucking memory retention because my brain is fried from trauma. Love that for me.
right there with
Um,
you.
But yeah, basically I can do stuff and I will just forget about it. Doesn't matter how long ago it was. It could be 30 minutes, could be a few hours, who knows.
Yeah, my memory is
But
unpredictable. Like I could remember something you said 2 minutes ago, and then you remember my entire childhood. No, no thanks.
no, I'm pretty sure I was like 4 for like a few minutes and then I was suddenly 9 and I don't know how that happened.
Well,
And
I
then I
best leave it
remember like
alone,
a
as I
few
say.
years from 13 and then nothing until I was 16, which is a little scary.
Yeah, I think that's common. But hey, I'm going to announce our new theme
Oh,
because
yay,
that's what I
theme.
do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we should do that.
our theme this month is cold cases. We've done it before, and as you guys know if you've listened for more than 5 minutes, cold cases are my favorite, and I thought it was time to revisit that theme because there are so many and they could use more attention. So, there we go. What case do you have for us today, Matty?
I have a fucking crazy one that okay, straight up, I didn't even know this thing existed. But oh my God, if it is not a perfect use of the word the boogeyman, aka Mr. Cruel, who was a serial rapist, which, kind of trauma warning. I'm gonna just put it right here, right now. We are gonna be talking about child rape, child abduction, child pornography. I'm gonna talk about pedophilia as like a concept. So if you're sensitive to those topics, skip this episode. Find a different episode. Maybe find a different podcast if you can't handle dark topics in
No,
general.
we have some people who are just sensitive to like child content or sexual assault. And I totally get that. Like I have to skip some episodes. It just depends on my mood too. So that's why we do a little trigger warning cuz some days are harder than other days. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course if you couldn't handle murder, perhaps skip this podcast cuz it does
Yeah,
heavily
that's
focus on that.
That's
But
basically why I was saying it. It's like a little disclaimer specifically to my mom who hates murder,
oh
but I
no,
know she listens to the podcast anyways because she loves me.
that's cute.
That
Hello, mom.
good. Hi, mom.
Hello, Matty's mom. One's gonna be rough. I know this case.
Um, intro. Sorry.
No, you're
Um,
fine.
Anyways, so like I said, this is a cold case. It is, or well, you said, this is a cold case. It's currently unsolved. We're probably going to talk some theories in the end of like different possibilities. If you guys want to weigh in, please do.
Discord.
But yeah, Discord. We'll talk about Discord at the end too, but like Discord,
Yes.
guys. Anyways, the boogeyman, which is a faceless, shapeless entity that has an iteration in every culture around the globe. A name to this void our ancestors created that thousands of parents have wielded looking to make their offspring behave. Because that's what the boogeyman is, right? It's
Yes,
like a
I used
childhood tale you
werewolves.
use.
I used werewolves against my children instead of the
Hey,
boogeyman.
you would not be incorrect to do that. Fun
I
fact,
know.
in Louisiana, their version of the boogeyman is
The
a
Lugaroo.
rougarou.
Yeah.
Rougarou, which is basically a fucking werewolf.
Hmm.
Um, it has a million forms, a million names. It's the Sloch in Ireland, the 7 o'clock man in Canada, the Bobus in Lithuania, Krampus in Austria, uh, the Hugupwa in China, which means Aunt Tiger. Obviously the Rougarou, not to mention poop culture. Oh my God. I'm gonna fucking kill myself right here.
Nah, you're good.
Not to mention pop culture references like Stephen King's short story of the same name, or The Babadook, which was inspired by the Croatian boogeyman Baba Yaga.
Jeepers
Um,
Creepers had a boogeyman too,
yeah, Jeepers Creeper
and
is
the director's a
technically a
pedophile.
boogeyman, which is the same thing,
I
basically.
agree. I agree.
Anyways, um, but what happens when the boogeyman is real? When the shadows lurking outside a child's window isn't a folktale, but flesh and blood. In the suburbs of Melbourne, Australia, between 1987 and 1991, an unknown predator terrorized families and left investigators grasping at the quickly disappearing clues. Known only as Mr. Cruel, also the Hampton rapist, but Mr. Cruel is a much more popular term, or well, nickname. This meticulous and calculating criminal abducted young girls from their homes, leaving behind no forensic evidence, no clear pattern, only fear and heartbreak. Despite an exhaustive investigation, the identity of Mr. Cruel remains a mystery to this day. Was he a ghost, a phantom, an ordinary man hiding in plain sight? Tonight, we're delving into this case because, Jesus Christ, it's interesting. Anyways, in the golden area, God damn it, in the golden era between Vietnam and the power of the internet, an unknown assailant dubbed Mr. Cruel by the media terrorized suburban Melbourne, breaking into homes. Despite, oh my God, I basically just repeated myself here.
It's
Ignore
okay.
that, people.
We're good. Keep
Um,
going.
where am I going? Uh, late winter. Brisk August day in Lower Plenty, Australia, because fun fact, August in Australia is winter.
You know, and
Didn't
I
know
didn't
that.
learn that until I started doing this podcast. Yeah.
I'm very dully aware of the fact that anything outside of the US exists. I just rarely talk to anybody outside of the US for it to be like conceptualized in my head. Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, and we were educated in the United States. That means poorly. I don't know where
Yeah.
anything is. I don't
Yay.
even know where all the U.S. states are.
I was homeschooled for all of middle school, if that tells you fucking anything.
It does. That's why you're weird. No, I'm just kidding. Am I?
I mean, that's part of it, man. Anyways, 4 in the morning on a Saturday, before sunlight had even started breaking over the horizon, a darkly clothed figure slips a pane of glass free from the living room window. The phone lines were most likely already cut, letting the unknown subject feel more confident in his mission. He made his way inside silently, alerting not a single soul until the intruder was inside the parents' master bedroom. Armed with only a knife and a gun, he woke the parents, pretending to be a thief that was only interested in their belongings, but he gave them only two options: obey or die. After having the parents roll onto their stomachs, the unknown assailant fastened their hands and feet together before shepherding them into the nearby wardrobe and blindfolding and gagging each adult with surgical tape he had brought with him, which is also what he used to fasten their hands and feet together. I hadn't mentioned that, but like it's important to his pattern. Anyways, with a few final death threats, he locked both of them inside the wardrobe, cutting off all chances of escape. Once the parents had been secured, the assailant continued to the next bedroom where the family's 6-year-old son was asleep. Thankfully, the boy was mostly unharmed, although trussed up and restrained similarly to his parents before being tied to his bed. And finally, the true target of the Shadow's mission was alone. For the next 2 hours, the intruder would take breaks from the consistent, perverted, horrific sexual assault he performed on the family's 11-year-old daughter. He wandered through the home, picking out strange objects to steal and even making himself like a whole fucking meal. Like this man cooked himself dinner
You
in
know,
this family's house.
there are like a couple cases. There was a really brutal like murder in Japan where he cooked himself a whole ass meal, like while like everyone was dead. You know, it's just so weird to me. I couldn't
Yeah,
eat
I don't know.
personally, I don't think.
I don't know
Put
if
me
I'd be
off.
hungry after murdering somebody, you know? I
Exactly. I
get
think it
it.
put me off my tendies, man.
I don't know if Jeffrey Dahmer would feel the same way, but we're all different.
Oh. All right.
But damn. All right.
Got dark.
Where was I? Anyways, by the time that he was done, he had stolen a box of classic records and a blue parka. Why? Who the fuck knows? As well as the peace and sanity of this family, like admittedly, because I don't know how you're ever gonna get over that.
I don't either. It's, you know, and we're joking, and a lot of times me and Willow would say this, and I think you'll agree. If you find
hmm
us laughing, it's not being callous. I'm uncomfortable. Because it's so scary. It's so horrifying to think of like your home is your safe place, and like when you're a child, your mom and dad are safe, and somebody takes that away to just terrorize you for hours. God,
Yeah.
I just can't imagine how, and I can't imagine being the parents, how helpless and hopeless you feel. I can't imagine that kind of pain. It's terrible.
It really is. I want to like expand, but I feel like there isn't anything that you haven't already said. Um, Anyways, it was hours before the police were finally called and were able to investigate the crime. However, they didn't really have any leads to start with. There weren't any prior threats. The family wasn't particularly well off. There wasn't any money stolen, which was like the fucking weird part. There weren't any listed enemies, no jilted lovers, not really a single viable option to begin the investigation. The crime wasn't even able to be connected to another open case in that area at that particular time. However, further investigation shows that there was actually another like break-in and abduction in 19 I want to say 1985, although I didn't write it down for some reason. That they are pretty sure is this guy, but unfortunately they just can't confirm it.
In
Um,
addition, in 1985, though DNA testing did exist, it was not widely used, especially outside of the UK and the United States and Canada.
Yes. And it also like wasn't as good as the DNA testing that we have like today or even
No.
had developed by like 2000.
It
Um,
would also take weeks. People don't realize that. Back in the day, it would take weeks for DNA
oh my
results to come
gosh,
in, up
yeah.
to a month.
Um, and like even if we and here's the issue with like partially with this like investigation, they lost all of the DNA evidence that they had collected because of mismanagement of the files. They lost a lot of the evidence, all of the DNA samples, like even now where we could have harvested DNA samples and tested it with our
Yeah.
tests today, we fucking can't anymore because it just doesn't exist. They're gone.
I find there's a lot of incompetence in regards to like storing evidence, not just in Australia. I'm not making fun of y'all down there, because we're just as bad, if not worse, than the US. I
Oh,
mean, I
absolutely.
think it's only like 32%, something like that, of rape kits are ever tested. So that's fun.
Yep.
Just here to be a barrel
Anyways,
ass today.
without any other clues, the police began to pick apart the pieces of the puzzle that they did have. The parents and son were both bound and gagged before being further restrained, and the daughter was physically and sexually assaulted for hours, during which the unknown assailants searched the house and eventually picked out those two little things of, well, no value. Thankfully, the daughter was able to describe the mask of the criminal, as well as reporting that she heard him use the family phone to call someone. She said it was a threat to another person about their children. However, when the police checked the family phone records, there was not a single record of the phone call. And while it's possible that he owned a cell phone, this isn't unlikely. Keep in mind, this is 1987. Like, cell phones weren't really around, and the average cell phone for consumers was $1,300. $1,399,
And it
which
was
is three
big,
thousand. Oh my God, it was
like a
giant. It
loaf of
was
bread.
it was like a fucking pound or two,
Oh, I had one
which,
for my car when I was 16 in 1997. And
oh
that
my
thing,
God.
it's number one, it stayed in my car. It was a
Hmm.
car phone, okay? You couldn't like carry it around with you. Like it stayed in the car. And that thing weighed like 4 pounds and you could beat somebody to death with it. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, $1,399 back in 1987 is $3,900 today.
Yes.
Not to mention a $150 monthly fee for having a cell phone, which is about $420 today. And you had to pay for individual minutes. I don't know
Yes.
if people remember paying for individual minutes.
Pepperidge
I have
Farm
had to pay for
remembers.
peppers. I member.
I
I
member.
member, okay?
Uh-huh. We're membering together.
So while it's possible that he did have a cell phone, fucking, I don't think so. I don't think he's shoving a giant fucking toaster in
No.
his back pocket to go break into a house. So the
No.
much more likely and kind of proven option, since there are reports of him doing this in other crimes, is that this man is playing chess. He's playing mind games. He sees himself as smarter than everybody else, and he's kind of proven himself to be that way.
Well,
Um,
pause. He just needed to be smarter than the ding dongs investigating this, and that does not imply great intelligence. Ted Bundy is a good example of this.
yeah, that's true.
Mid at best, sir. It's one of my favorite myths to dispel, is the very intelligent, high IQ killer. They're actually very rare. It's not like they don't exist. I think Israel Keys is a good example of a
Hmm.
serial killer with high intelligence. I mean, no soul. What a monster. But this guy, I think we're looking at a lot of, unfortunately, incompetence. Yeah,
Yeah, I would, well, I wouldn't say it's incompetence. I would say it's a mixture of incompetence and intelligence, but
possibly.
also knowledge. I'll get into this like later
Okay,
on. I have some like ideas as to why I do believe that it is partially that he is an intelligent person. Um,
I'm just playing
but
devil's advocate, yo.
I get it.
I have to do it.
I do it. I understand. But
Yes.
basically, the theory and what we're basically going with is that he likes to leave fake clues with the victims to throw the investigation off
That
track.
is smart, to be
And for
fair.
a whole year, he remained, uncaptured. The police force was working tirelessly. They were interviewing and researching and testing every scenario and possibility, but it wasn't enough. December 27th of 1988, 2 days after Christmas, where most families would still be enjoying their holiday cheer and spirit, the Willis family's spirits were about to be broken. A family of six was asleep in their Ringwood home, only a few short miles away from the previous attack. John Wills, I keep saying Willis, it's Wills. John Wills, which was the patriarch of the family, was awoken by the feeling of cold steel being pressed against his temple. A voice ordered him, "Don't be a hero," and awoke John's wife with the knife in his other hand. Both parents knew that the situation they were in was dire. They were ordered to roll onto their stomachs, catching only a glimpse of the intruder, now wearing dark blue overalls and a navy ski mask, in contrast to his previous outfit, which was described as fully black. This time, the unknown assailant bound their wrists and ankles in copper wire this time, using a specialized nautical knot. And then, following the pattern from before, he then blindfolded and gagged the parents using the same surgical tape that he brought, and then lied to the frightened couple that he was only there for money. The man continued by stealing $35 out of the father's bedside table, and then he went through the home to cut the phone lines like he had in the previous crime. After ensuring he would have a head start, he finally made his way to the other home's bedroom where the four Wills girls were asleep in their shared room. The creepy part, he knew exactly which girl he wanted. Showing obvious premeditation and knowledge of his targets, the man called for 10-year-old Sharon Wills by name.
Oh God.
Now, here's where I'm going to have a little beside, just
Okay,
so that we can talk, because I love to get into psychology. That's
sure,
that's like one of my big loves. Because one, I'm severely mentally ill, like horrifically, I will never get better mentally ill.
sure,
So it's always
same.
fun to talk about.
Yeah.
And also, I love like procedural dramas. I love like law and law
But
enforcement and
here's
all of
my
that.
disclaimer. Me and Maddie are not professionals. We're not
No, we are
psychologists.
not.
We're ding-dongs on the internet who don't know anything. Please take this as conjecture only. This does not serve as a diagnosis because we're dumb. There we go. You
Yeah,
may
but
continue.
baby girls, I am 21 years old and I smoke weed literally every day. Please do not
Yeah.
come to me for like
Advice
murder
or
advice or anything. Don't even look at me most
no,
days.
do not observe.
Anyways, going off of the disclaimer of like I'm not a professional, don't listen like don't look at me. But this man is what we would call a preferential predator. Do you guys know what a preferential predator is?
From context clues, yes.
Yeah, they're a pedophile, yes, but more specifically a hebephile. The difference between them is subtle, but it does change certain traits of the psychology behind said criminals. Now, this isn't widely accepted or anything, and there has been some precedent shown in cases where the word hebephile has been used instead of pedophile. And then there's also a phebophile, which is sexual attraction to like 15 to 18-year-olds.
And hebephiles
But
is like 8 to 12, I think, or 8 to 13 or something.
you're almost
Somewhere
so
around
it's
there.
usually between 10 and 14.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it
So
was a little
a
off.
traditional pedophile is attracted to children who are prepubescent. So this could be anything from like an actual like 6-month-old baby to like 8 years old. Or, whenever you get your period is usually when it ends. I got mine at 8 years old on my mother's birthday, which wasn't a fun way to like welcome myself to womanhood, but
I was like almost 10. It was like a couple weeks for my 10th birthday. I was an early menstruator as well.
yeah. I don't know. Some people get it really early. I've even heard of like one of my cousins getting it at like 5 or 6.
It's called
It
precarious
happens.
puberty, I believe. But I'm not a doctor and I don't remember. So,
No clue.
precocious
Anyways,
puberty. Precocious
a,
puberty, that's what it's called.
a hemophile is sexually interested only in pubescent children, like only people who are fertile, open for business, you know? And out of those four girls, why Sharon? Why Sharon? She was the only girl in his age range. The other three were simply too young. The twins, Linda and Robin, were 8 at the time, and the baby, Annette, was 5. And you'll find that all of the other victims were also in that sort of age range. What does this tell us about the perpetrator? So
Yeah,
here's my like my little crack shot psychological take on him.
go for it.
So it's Australia. We can guess that he's most likely a white man simply because that is, well, one man, obviously, seminal fluids, rape. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, women can rape, but they are more likely to go after little boys than they are little girls, whereas men are offenders that can go after either gender.
Yes,
Now, they
typically.
do usually go after women, usually, but you know. So obviously I'm going to go ahead with the assumption that he's going to be a white man. Now the victims have identified him as anywhere between 30s and 50s. I'm actually going to say he's somewhere between his mid 30s to late 40s during
I
the
would,
original time period.
knowing this case, I would, and for how long it went on, I would agree with you. Yeah.
I'm going to say like mid 30s to late 40s.
Yeah, I would
And
agree with that.
he is either dead by now or he's like close to it, like
Damn.
currently.
Damn.
Why do I think he's that old? Simply because he is specific in his targets. He has like traits that he likes. He goes after dark-haired, dark-eyed girls. He does reconnaissance. He does research. He stalks his victims. He knows their schedule. He's sophisticated enough to bring his tools with him. He knows to cut the phone lines. He can plant vehicles in advance, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I also have a theory that he was either a burglar or a like carjacker in his teen years, where he got good at breaking into locks and homes.
Well, and with these
I think
type of
he,
criminals, there's also an escalation involved. And if he was a burglar ahead of time, like you propose, that would make
Mhm.
sense that he would then further escalate to sexually assaulting the houses he breaks into, the victims inside.
Yes,
It's a natural
exactly.
progression. So I agree with you on that too.
And the next part might not make a lot of sense, but where you're going to see a large jump of escalation is going to be from a period of like forced, what's the word I'm looking for? Like forced rest. Like you are put away somewhere or you're in a situation where you can't go out and do what you want to do. Whether that be like,
Imprisonment?
steal. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I'm gonna say imprisonment. I think that he was maybe in like a juvie facility or like was in a prison facility at some time for a smaller crime, but not one where they would have his DNA on file. Fingerprints maybe, but not DNA. Like not something so or that they would have matched him with it. I think that he got straightened out in that juvie facility, which allowed him to get a decent paying job. I know this is crazy, but why I specifically say that he has a day job, something specific that he does, is that he always goes in the early, early mornings. He doesn't hit like in the evenings at like 8. He doesn't hit during the day where other people would be at work or at an office. He's hitting like midnight to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5, before, what am I trying to say? Far after night, but way before morning. So I think that he's probably on a morning schedule?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see why you would come to that conclusion.
Yes. Man, I love playing with like these kinds of like profiles.
Profiling, yeah, it is
Yeah,
fun. It is fun to do.
it's
It's a
like
good like mind exercise or whatever.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're
Um,
welcome.
but also he's breaking into these houses and he's not stealing things of monetary value. I mean, unless he's like stealing secrets or something, but like all of the families that he goes to, there's one that's like pretty decently like well off and that he asks for like money from, but he doesn't collect that money and he doesn't steal secrets or like any important documents. He is doing this simply for the reason that he wants to do it. He wants to break in and scare these families and do weird shit to like throw them off track and to take these girls. And I wish I could tell you why, but unfortunately, there's not always a reason.
Well, since
Now,
we do
I can
not
tell
have a
you,
named killer, we can't like go back into his childhood or anything, and so,
nope,
it kind of leaves us at a disadvantage when profiling, I believe, like for motive, you know?
I agree. I will actually leave with like one final thing where I'm going to make a fucking wild shot in the dark of what I think, like in my gut, it is. I don't think he has children. I don't think he's ever had children. I don't think he's ever going to have children. I think he's unable to. And I think that's why he seeks out children that are at their quote unquote peak fertility as a way to reclaim his masculinity. I
Interesting.
also read in some of the victim interviews that he called them Miss or Missy and was apparently in a fantasy that they were a married couple. Um, so I don't know. I feel very firmly that he's trying to,
I think the
he
reclaim
doesn't
his
feel,
masculinity really makes a lot of sense here. Um, yeah, that sounds about right. That's horrible. I hate that.
yeah, it's fucking terrible. Anyways, okay, I'm done like theorizing. I'm
Conjecturing. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sounding like a fucking propaganda show. So we're just gonna keep going.
Jun Jun.
Anyways,
That's my Law and Order noise. You're welcome.
yes. So he stole Sharon. He picked up a few items of clothing that were hers specifically, meaning he either knows her size or where she keeps her clothes. Both are bad. And then he made off with her. It took 15 minutes for the parents to break out of the copper wire and the tape restraints. They rushed to check on their children, only to see that Sharon was missing. John tried the house phones to call the cops before realizing the lines were dead. He rushed over to the neighbor's house to use their telephone before setting out into the neighborhood on foot, searching for any trace of where his daughter had disappeared. Even as police pulled up and started their search, it was too late. Sharon Wills was gone. 18 hours. For 18 hours, the 10-year-old was subjected to the strange kidnapping. Blindfolded the entire time, she was locked in his home where he proceeded to flip between assaulting her and caring for her, going as far as to feed her, and I'm quoting, a Vegemite sandwich, which is apparently a Australian delicacy of some kind.
I've had
I've never
Vegemite
had
because I'm
Vegemite.
a fearless bitch and I will eat anything. And you know what I say? No. I say no to Vegemite. And you know, I don't say no to much. I'm a big food slut.
I will never try Vegemite simply because ASDF movie has prejudiced me against it.
It's just real strong. That's my issue. It's too strong for anything. I give them props because that, boy, it stung my eyes. It was rough. It was rough.
Yeah. Sharon later went on record by calling the man soft-spoken, blunt, and gentle, which is fucking crazy. But I
Ugh.
believe her because sometimes with crazy people, they do have regrets of what they're doing in the moment, but not regretting it enough to stop. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Ugh.
Just a, just a small ick. Just a small, like, just to verbalize it, because I feel like I need to. Pedophiles are icky. Just ick. Anyways, before letting her go, the kidnapper took great care to clean Sharon thoroughly. He bathed her, he brushed and flossed her teeth, he clipped her finger and toenails, and kept all of her original clothing, including the extra pieces that he took, which feel unnecessary knowing he took her for 18 hours. You know, I don't know why you
Yeah.
needed those extra clothes.
Maybe he intended on keeping her longer, at least in a kind of fantasy, and he was caught up in it in the moment.
Possibly. Anyways, he ensured that not a single piece of evidence was left on her, DNA or otherwise, and then just after midnight, a stranger discovered Sharon wrapped in green garbage bags, left on the street corner by her kidnapper. Yet somehow Sharon was remaining strangely pulled together. She introduced herself to the woman, explaining she had been taken and needed the woman to call her family. The last viable clue she was able to give police is that Sharon had overheard a humming from a plane overhead while she was restrained. Unfortunately, even that wasn't able to lead to any results, and the trails quickly went cold. The family was quickly united, but there will always be remaining damage, as trauma is. It's reported that the family slept together in the living room for months afterwards, installing a brand new security system and even being gifted a golden retriever as a guard dog.
That's so pitiful.
Um, and everything was quiet for 2 years after that. No new evidence came in. They were bringing in people and interviewing and trying to find leads. Just wasn't going anywhere. And then Canterbury, Victoria, in a rich little neighborhood home to politicians and public officials. The Linus family were actually decently wealthy transplants from England who were renting a beautiful home in what they were told was a safe area. And they were only a few weeks from moving back to England when tragedy struck. Brian and Rosemary were attending a farewell party being thrown in their honor for when they traveled back home and decided to leave their two daughters alone at home for a few hours on a normal Tuesday evening. However, right before midnight, 15-year-old Fiona and 13-year-old Nicola were awoken by the sound of the masked intruder shouting at them. He ordered Nicola into another room to get her school uniform to the ladies' college she attended, while he tied up Fiona following his usual routine. See,
Yeah.
going back to preferential offender, they're not even that far apart in age. He probably could have taken the older one and had an easier time controlling her, but instead he took the younger one. Anyways, he informed Fiona that her father would need to pay 25 grand for Nicola's return before taking the 13-year-old out of the home and stealing the rental car the family had been using. They drove away, switching vehicles with another one in a parking lot approximately half a mile away that the police believe was planted by the man. Only 20 minutes later, Brian and Rosemary returned home to find their front door open, the car missing, and their 15-year-old tied up in bed with a ransom message that would forever be burned in her memory. The police, as always, found almost no evidence from the crime scene. Aside from Fiona's relaying on the ransom message, a first and only for this killer, there wasn't any information for them to go on. And as you know, the first 24 hours of a kidnapping are the most important. According to the FBI, 74% of kidnapping victims are murdered in the first 3 hours, and the trail was already cold. Nicola wasn't returned that day, or even the day after. The Linus family was desperate to comply with the ransom demands, but the man left no instructions on how to complete them. A day and a half after the abduction, the father held a press conference coached by law enforcement where he pleaded directly with the kidnapper and said that he would pay any way he could. But there was no response. The investigation took a deep dive into the father's personal dealings, his business, his work. They thought maybe it was a personal vendetta until Nicola was found almost 50 hours after she was taken. It was her 14th birthday. Nicola was found at an electricity station only a few miles from her house. Wrapped in a blanket, blindfolded, in an estranged neighborhood, she obeyed the man's orders to stay sitting until he drove away, after which she removed her blindfold and found a good citizen in the neighborhood for help. Even at 2 in the morning, she phoned her father and was relieved with how quickly he retrieved her. The freshly 14-year-old was able to give the investigators a few previously unknown details that made narrowing down the suspects much easier. Among them was a rough height estimation comparing it to herself when he took her. He was about 5'8" for the Americans, 175 centimeters for everybody else. That he was either a like honey blonde or like a red brunette or like a blonde of some sort, which isn't specific enough, but like I'll give it to her. Uh, a description of his home and vehicle, and even got a few completed, though kind of vague, police sketches from her disobeying the kidnapper's instructions and threats and peeking out of her blindfold where she could. He even told her that my freedom is worth more than your life, which is similar to what he told Sharon Wills while he was holding her captive. Just as before, this kidnapper enjoys his rituals. Nicola had been bathed and cleaned in the exact same thorough methods as he had with Sharon. However, he upgraded his methods by adding a neck brace to the bed that Nicola was trapped inside during her capture. She also reported hearing him speaking with another person while she was blindfolded, but she never heard anybody respond. Investigators assumed that this was likely just one of many red herrings that he was becoming known for. And months later, after the family had returned to England, she reported to the investigators that she remembers hearing a low aircraft as well. At this point, the police force had a rough height, an idea of where he lived, which is, somewhere near an airfield or in the like flight path. Sketches of his home and his car. You'd hope that they'd at least had some serious suspects, but there wasn't a warrant in sight, and there was only so much escalation left.
Yeah.
Um, John and Phyllis Chan were the embodiment of relentless dedication. Two tireless parents who poured their energy into building a prosperous future for their three daughters. As immigrants to Australia, they had clawed their way up to the ladder of damn, up the ladder of success, owning three thriving restaurants in the Eltham area of Victoria, along with several real estate investments. But their success came at a price. Grueling 18-hour workdays that often kept them away from home until late hours of the night. It was an absence that didn't go unnoticed. Their eldest daughter, 13-year-old Karmein, was entrusted with the care of her younger sisters during their parents' long shifts. She was responsible, bright, and mature beyond her years, and it's likely that someone who watched and waited and planned, knew this all too well. Mr. Cruel was infamous for his methodical approach. He stalked his victims for weeks, sometimes months, learning their habits, finding the perfect moment to strike. And on April 13th, 1991, that moment arrived for the Chan family. Their home, a sprawling residence in the affluent Templestown district, should have been a sanctuary. Instead, it became the scene of an unthinkable nightmare. That Saturday night, Carmine and her sisters were doing what many children their age would be, curled up in her bedroom watching movies. Around 8:40 p.m., Carmine and one of her sisters stepped into the kitchen to grab a snack, and that's when they saw him. Dressed in his signature balaclava and a green-gray tracksuit, the intruder loomed before them brandishing a knife. His voice was calm and eerily controlled. "I only want your money," is what he told them. But that was a lie.
So fucking scary.
It's bad. He forced the two younger girls into Carmine's closet, blocking the door with a heavy piece of furniture, and then, with chilling precision, he led Carmine away under the pretense of needing her to show him where the family kept their cash. But the truth was far more sinister. Within minutes, the younger sisters fought their way out of the makeshift prison and frantically called their father at the restaurant. But by the time police arrived, it was clear this was no ordinary home invasion. This was something far worse. Outside, a chilling message was scrawled on Phyllis Chan's parked Toyota Camry. "Payback, Asian drug dealer. More to come." Another attempt at misdirection, a crude red herring meant to throw investigators off the trail. Inside, a cut window screen marked the point of entry, and tracking dogs followed the abductor's trail through the family's garden and tennis court. The scent ended 300 meters away in a vacant lot where he had likely stashed a getaway car. The Chans, shattered by their daughter's abduction, wasted no time in making a public plea. Just 72 hours later, they stood before the press, begging for Carmine's safe return. Phyllis, inconsolable, clutched the outfit her daughter had worn the night she was taken, sobbing as she implored the kidnapper to bring her child home, which is suggesting that he took the clothes off of her daughter before he took her, which
Yeah,
is somehow worse.
it is. I agree. Sickening.
Um, Desperate for any sign of hope, the family placed an encrypted letter in the local newspaper using a cipher only Carmine would understand, offering ransom for her return. Even her younger sisters, in their heartbreak, wrote letters pleading for their sister's safety. But the days stretched into weeks and then months, and the silence was deafening. To make matters worse, the investigation had been compromised from the start. The first police responders failed to secure the scene, trampled the house, and destroyed potential evidence before forensic specialists could even begin the work. The early days of the case were spent scrutinizing John Chan's personal and professional dealings, chasing false leads that ultimately led nowhere. When the focus shifted back to Mr. Cruel, the damage had already been done. Determined to bring him to justice, law enforcement launched Operation Spectrum. Damn. One of the most extensive manhunts in Australian history. The task force consumed millions of dollars and tens of thousands of investigative hours. A $300,000 reward was put forth for information leading to Mr. Cruel's capture, and despite their relentless efforts, the case would not end with Carmine's safe return. Instead, nearly a year after her abduction, the grim truth surfaced. On April 9th, 1992, a man walking his dog near Edgar's Creek in Thomastown stumbled upon something strange. When he bent down for a closer look, a wave of horror crashed over him. He rushed home, dialing authorities in a panic. What he had found was a fully decomposed skeleton, and forensic analysis confirmed what investigators had feared. It was Karmein Chan. An autopsy revealed that she had been executed, shot 3 times in the head. Given the state of decomposition, she had likely been killed shortly after her abduction, a fate unlike Mr. Cruel's previous victims who had all been released. Why had Carmine been different? Some believe the answer lies in her mother's own words. Phyllis Chan had always described her daughter as being strong-willed, someone who wouldn't go quietly. Perhaps she fought back, perhaps she learned something she wasn't supposed to, and for that, she died.
Terrible, but I
Operation
kind of figured the same thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, even if it is hard to do. Sometimes fighting back isn't what gets you home, and it can be a difficult truth to kind of face and a decision to make.
Yeah, I think it's like we covered a whole month of survivors on this podcast a couple years
Hmm.
ago. It was really actually fascinating month because each survivor was so different. Some were very much like Carmine and fought the whole time. Some were very compliant and quiet,
Hmm.
and it's so unpredictable, you never know.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone reacts to trauma differently as well, and some people
Hmm.
are really good at compartmentalizing, and some people just don't feel anything at all. So it's just kind of like a toss up of who knows.
I agree.
Yeah. But anyways, we haven't caught Mr. Cruel, which is really shitty. However, the task force did do some other amazing things. Costing a little over $4 million, the 40-member task force Operation Spectrum would investigate over 27,000 suspects. Just as a comparison, because I love talking about like statistics and different things, Key West, Florida has a 25,000 population. That is like inquiring with the entire Key West of Florida.
Wow.
That's more people than the amount 27,000 is more people than the population of red pandas still in the wild. And the radius of a sphere containing 27,000 condensed humans would be approximately 7.52 meters or 24.7 feet, which is about the size of a two-story house or a school bus sitting on its ass. It's a large enough group of people that if this happened in the US, it's a huge likelihood that another murderer not part of the case would be questioned, and a small chance that it might even be two murders. And they also went on to arrest over 70 people involved in trading, creating, or otherwise producing child pornography, a black market industry that many people think Mr. Cruel is or was involved in. Both of his freed victims claim to have seen or heard clues leading to a camera at the foot of the bed they were kept on, and the assumption from there is only natural.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you. I just
Oh no,
had to
you're
get the rest
fine.
of that out.
No, that's amazing. I love these little. I hope you make that a regular thing on your episodes with these little facts and statistics. I like them quite a lot, actually.
See, I pitched this to somebody earlier, and he had the audacity to look at me and say, "You shouldn't write episodes while you're high." But I think I should. I think it adds pizzazz.
Give
I
them the
want
old
to.
razzle dazzle.
I had like three different sections where I was just listing different shit that it was like, and I loved it.
You gave
Had a
just the
good time.
right amount of little facts where went like,
You.
yes, I like that. I like knowing all those things that I will promptly forget, but I did enjoy it. Yes,
Exactly.
I request more of such things in the future.
Unfortunately, that is basically all we have of like solid facts. If you would like, we can talk about some of the theories that people have about the identity of Mr. Cruel. There were some arrests that did take place, however, everybody ended up getting released. Um, and I think they even tried charging somebody with it. However, I wasn't able to find a lot of information about that part.
Yeah, typically if it's no like formal charges filed, you won't get a lot of information. A lot of these lists are public and a lot of them are private. And the
Hmm.
judicial system in Australia works differently than the one in the US. So,
It sure does.
yeah. Yep, yep. I learned all that when I did the dingo ate my baby case.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
A dingo did eat her baby and they made fun of her
Which
for
is
it.
the fucking crazy part. Like
Yeah.
people memed the shit out of that, but like no,
No, it
it
happened.
happened.
That poor woman went to prison for years, and it's just so sad.
Yeah, I mean false imprisonment happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
Um, Not quite in the same vein, but like also how McDonald's like used to shame the lady that got like third degree burns from her coffee
Because
being
it's
too
so
hot?
silly to sue. Yeah, she had third degree burns all over her genitals and thighs. It made walking
Her
impossible, and she was in
thighs were
pain.
fused together, like her
Yes,
skin melted together. That's
yes,
how hot it was.
yes.
Fuck you, dude.
McDonald's
I'm
did
taking
just
you for millions of dollars. I don't
well,
even care.
McDonald's just went on a huge smear campaign against her, and people still bring that
It's
case up to make fun of
oh my
like,
God.
too much litigation and how Americans are sue happy. No, she should have sued him.
Yeah,
And
that's
what
like the
people
exact time where you sue.
and what people don't know is originally she just asked for her hospital bill to be covered. That's
Ex
it.
yes, thank you. Oh
And
my
those
God, finally somebody
cunts.
else who's exactly as mad as I am about that case.
Oh, listen. I went on a whole rant about it for like 30 minutes
If
once.
that woman doesn't have somebody to defend her, I'm fucking dead, okay?
I actually think she is passed away at this time. So
Oh,
RIP McDonald's lady.
that's fine. I'll
Because
kill
she was in her
myself if she needs a
80s.
lawyer in hell.
Wow, that is very dedicated.
I mean, you know,
Surely that she could just wait, for you to get there naturally. She's already. I mean, is she in hell? Maybe little grandma went to heaven. You don't know. We're all in hell now. That's my theory.
I don't know. I don't like to talk about like the idea of heaven and hell because my like personal view on morality is I don't want to be like one of those people that's like, "Oh my God, my morality is so like fucked up." I mean, like sometimes I genuinely can't tell if I should be allowed to walk outside.
You're fine. You're
One time I
fine.
tried to explain to somebody how my like moral compass works, and she looked at me and she was like, "So you're into eugenics?" And I was like, "I don't think
What?
that's anything
No.
that I said." What?
No. Go away with
I'm
that.
in hello?
Yeah, I don't really go into my own personal moral convictions. I mean, other than like I guess my socio-political stances on things.
Understandable.
But a lot of things people find wrong and pearl clutchy, I'm just like, why are you worried about that? Focus. Earth's dying. We're in a
Yeah.
fascist dictatorship. Can we please, like, somebody, hamburger, help me? Why are we talking about trans people? I don't understand. Stop it.
Oh my God. Oh God. You said political and now
Yeah, look
I
what
have
I've done.
forgotten
Look what I've
I have
done.
forgotten to check how the filibuster is doing.
He has broken a record. The
He did?
congressman's
He broke the record? Oh
24
my
hours
God.
straight of speaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking good job,
But let
Booker.
me hold on. We're not gonna praise him that much. These fucking limp dick Democrats need to grow several pair. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I want your balls big, and I want you doing something. You're just standing around going, woo woo, I guess we're in a dictatorship. Fuck you! Do something, you cowards. Anyway, if I say any more, I'm going to be on a list, and the Secret Service is going to be at my house, and that means I don't have spaghetti, Diet Coke, or my vape, and that's unacceptable. I cannot go to an El Salvadoran prison.
Yeah, the only like things that I can add personally to anything that we have to say about, TURM, I don't know how to spell it. I'm too high and tired. It's 2 in the morning. T T TH no, never mind. I don't even want to try. Um, Cheeto Man, him.
Yeah,
The only things that
dumpy.
I want to say about him, I'm going to get fucking arrested for.
Don't do
So
it.
I
Not
can't.
worth it. I like to call him Donald Jorts Trump because that's funny.
I mean,
Hmm.
I guess it is Jay. I've said Jonald before, and that
Donald's
was pretty
good.
good.
Donald's good. I really love putting like on the end of names that don't normally have it. Like if your name was Ben, I'd call you Benathy. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Yum yum. Anyway, I'm gonna stop because if I listen, y'all, if I get started on politics, I'm gonna get so much hate mail. And
Yeah.
while it does like I'm just gonna use it. I don't know. I'm gonna print it out and roll it up and fuck it. Who knows? Send me hate mail. Let's just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Just leave it
Instead of
alone.
politics, why don't we do capitalism?
Business
Lillian, is
time.
it business time?
It
Business
is.
time!
For I
Business
have my
time!
business socks on. I don't. Refuse to wear socks. They're foot prisons. That's the flavor of autism I have. I cannot wear socks. I'm a little footies. Now I will.
I don't know. I fuck with socks. Like
You're
as
the
an autism myself.
that's your flavor, right? But
Yeah.
me, it must be naked foots. But if I'm wearing like boots, I'll wear socks because I wasn't raised in a barn. Can't have a sweaty foot, swampy foot. That's fucked up. Fuck that. No. Anyway, business time. Join our Patreon. I just covered Taylor Shabusiness, which sounds
Taylor
so. Yeah, her name is
Taylor
Taylor
should
Shabusiness. Yeah,
should business. Okay.
mine's just Shabusiness because that's her
Oh,
name.
I'm so sorry.
Um, Brutal. Probably one of the most brutal, horrifying murders of 2024. If we're gonna be honest, so fucked. It contained everything: methamphetamines, weird cis people changing their name to Shabusiness, head in a bucket, necrophilia. It was just a bad time. But if you want to find out about that case, you can head on over to Patreon and check it out. There's over 700 hours of content just for you. And most of it, I can guarantee you've never heard before. We cover everything from like weird history, haunted stuff, to, of course, true crime and cold cases and all that good stuff. We also have merch. We'll have new merch soon. Trademark. Whenever, someday, soon. And we
I
have.
okay. I'm trying, okay? I work
No,
a
it's fine.
full-time job and I'm really sleepy. I love naps.
And your tummy probably hurts. Hmm?
Sometimes.
Yeah, same as me. I have a tummy ache right now. I feel like I could toot, but like I'm not gonna do that on air. Have respect.
I mean,
Join
or you could sell it for $50, Lillian, you know?
if you want to buy my fart. It's $50 plus shipping. And I will tell, let me tell you something. I researched how to best capture a fart because for Christmas one year, I painted a jar all beautiful for Christmas time and I put a little lid on it with a little gingham fabric. I even hot glued like evergreen shit and little burlap ties and jingle bells for my
hmm
son William's Christmas present.
And then
I
he
had
farted
captured a
in it?
fart the day before in that jar. And yes, it was still stinky and I felt very
Hilarious.
good. Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
also I frequently do this kind of shit to my. He got a real present. It was like a PlayStation, so like I can fart in a jar.
mm,
He thought it was like my homemade hot cocoa mix, so he's really excited. His face was right up in there. Anyway, it has nothing to do with nothing. Join our Patreon, check out our merch, check out our Discord. What do you think about this case or any other case? If you're gonna get on
yeah,
there and tell
share your
me,
theories,
yeah,
guys. There are so many theories. There's
there
like a
are
fucking subreddit dedicated to
dedicated
this
to this.
guy.
Yes, absolutely. Also,
Sorry for the
you
coughing.
can come show me what you had for dinner because I can never think of what to have for dinner, and it is the constant, unending struggle, and I hate it. So inspire me. Show me your pets too, please. I want to see
Yay.
them. I want to see your cute aminals, please. And you can also say hello to me, and I will say hello back, probably, or something along those lines. Unless you're rude, and I'll tell you to fuck off. So that's about it. Yeah. That's all the business I have because my brain is just soup, which is one of our shirts, by the way. That's right.
Yes.
Um, yeah, see, whole train of thought derailed. Just derailed. I've been very stressed out, but it's all good. Y'all, my car was fixed today after 2 weeks of bullshit. It was just a wheel bearing, something that should take like 2 to 3 hours tops. Took 2 weeks because I had aftermarket tires on my 2006 Pontiac Vibe, and they no longer make the lug nut key for it. Oh, it was a mess. But anyway, it's fixed now. Yay. Yay.
Yay.
We're expecting a lot of bad weather, just to let you all know. If for some reason Thursday's episode isn't up or Patreon's episode this week isn't up, it's because I do not have electricity. So I'm just passing that along ahead of time. So you can like think good thoughts for my house not to get blown away. I would appreciate it. Because if it does, I'm just going to let it blow me away also. Goodbye. All right, Maddie, do you have
Bye.
anything? Because otherwise, I'm just going to let you say goodbye now.
I don't think I have anything except for shout out to Key West. I've decided Key West gets a shout out. Shout out to Key West.
Hell
Goodbye,
yeah, Key
everybody.
West.
Have a happy
Bye.
Maddie Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.
Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/cruelty has all of the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Willie B.